Mayang adlaw, September 14. Nakita sa last nato nga discussion sa Philippians. Dini kita sa very familiar Philippians chapter 4 verse 13. Now atong sabton kini in the context of sa tibok sulat ni Apostol Pablo. Kinaganan ganahan kita magkuha lang sa mga bersikulo atong himuon nga lucky charm binang tempting kay ni kay na word I can do all things. Now we have to di naman siguro kuan sa ato ang na we have understood that when we interpret the scriptures, we always have to pass it to the filter of Christ. Pinagigid sa filter ni Kristo. Kaya ano man, siya naman mismo nag-ingon. When he was here on earth, he said, the scripture was talking about me. So from the prophets until to Moses and everything, he was saying it was all about me. So, even karon sa mga sulat din sa New Testament, ato makita nga, yeah, when we pass it to the filter of Christ, a lot of it makes sense. It makes sense. So, sa sitwasyon ni Paul in Philippians, he was in a desperate yet hopeful situation. Na siya sa prisuhan. Nagpasalamat siya, nagsulat siya sa mga taga Pilipos or Philippi sa kalugar. It's part of Turkey now, or even until sa unang time. So, nagsulat siya dito. O ingon siya nga, for he who began a good work in you. I always would mistake it with for all things work together for good. That's a different verse. For he who began a good work with you will complete it until the day of Christ. For he who started perfection, salvation sa tuwa. Okay, so there is a action done in the past, is still going in the present, and there is fulfillment in the future. Mga pasabot ni Pablo. And that's what we are hoping for. All of us. Gahope kita na. And then, ingon po siya nga, work out your own salvation. Not nga ang kaluwasan paningkamutan. Pero ingon siya, because perfection is already there in you. It has been worked out in the past, being worked out now, and in the future, it will really be perfected. It will be fulfilled. So show it, display it. That's what it really means. And then, last time we talked about perfection. Ingon sa our focus. The perfection that was given to us, and we understood it, ang perfection na gihatag sa Ginoo sa ato through Christ dili sa atong paningkamot. It is the same like Adam and Eve before they sinned. So Christ looks at us through the filter or the lens of Christ, and how does he sees us? Like Adam and Eve before they sinned, they were innocent. That's how he sees us. So grabe kay ang work ni Kristo para kanato. It was substitutionary. That's why there was a great exchange. 2 Corinthians 5:21. Okay, his righteousness, our sin, atong gibaylo, and he was willing to give us his righteousness. So grabe kayo ng trabaho ni Kristo para sa ato. For he who knew no sin became sin that we might have the righteousness of Christ. So anang tanaw sa Ginoo sa ato. And now here the last part, he was talking about contentment. He was thanking the people, the believers in Philippi sa ilang generosity. Ingon siya nga, kamo lang naghatag sa ako. Even Thessalonica, I don't know na siya pasaring gamay, wala na ka na daw ng kahatag sa iya, but it was Philippi, it was the believers there. Ingon siya, dili man nagapangayok pa ko sa inyo, pero I want you to be rewarded of your kindness. And yeah, ingon ta nga, does Paul have the authority to do that? Yeah, because he was an apostle at the time. He was the one who went to these people to explain to them the gospel. And yeah, he could call them out. But also he was telling, I don't care anymore. There are people who preach with different motives, but I don't care as long as Christ is preached. So, grabe ang striking a balance ni Apostle Paul din sa Philippians. So, karon naghisgot siya about I can do all things through Christ who strengthen me. Yun siya, I am content whether I am in empty stomach or full stomach, whether I have or not, I am content, because he learned that the thing about life, not only about contentment, the thing about life is that we always have to realize that we are nothing. And then when we realize that we are nothing, we then realize, also understand that Christ is our everything. That's why ang second part of the verse, through Christ who strengthens me. It doesn't say I can do all things because I am very good. It doesn't say I can do all things because I have been equipped by these abilities and talents and gifts. It doesn't say that. It's always again to the filter of Christ. I can do all things Because I am nothing, I realize that one, because I have Christ. Through Christ who strengthens me. Then, if that happens only when we come to understanding that we are really nothing apart from Christ. Kung wala gid si Kristo, alahot kita. Kung wala si Kristo, wala tay kaluwasan. Kung wala si Kristo, dili magpadayon ning ongoing process of perfection, of salvation sa atoa, although it was already done in the past, done deal, ban package, but then in the future, it is also going to be fulfilled. That's why gali paradoxical kayo ang message sa Bible. And that's why we understand why we are in this desperate and miserable, but yet we are hopeful for the future because there is really a fulfillment, a perfection sa umaabot. But Paul was saying, we can do these things not because we have good abilities, but because of Christ again. So we are free to be weak because He is strong. We are free to fail because He was perfect on our behalf. I'm not saying that this is an excuse to do stupid things, okay? But no, when times get rough, when times get tough, when we cannot really hold on, we could not hold ourselves together, it's okay to say, Lord, I cannot really do it. Help me. And that's when usually He comes. He comes when we are at the end of ourselves. Nasa dulo na sa atong mga pisik, di ba? Na nakakapit na sa patalim. And then He comes when we acknowledge we cannot really do it. Then He becomes our strength. Diba? Then He becomes our victory. So, it's always done through the filter of Christ. When we take only the first part, I can do all things, and we forget the filter of through Christ who strengthens us, but coming from an understanding that we could not really do it, then we have Christ's strength. Then we have Christ's wisdom. Then we have His victory. Diba? So, again, all of those meet at the cross, meet at Christ. So we do not end there. But thankful tayo nga si Kristo, who was victorious, who is our strength on our behalf. And that's why we could also say, like Apostle Paul, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not through our abilities or gift, but always through the filter of Christ. Remember ang storya, di ba? Pag-abot na to sa tubangan sa Ginoo, we will not be asked of the things that we have done. But diluwan na sila yung pangutana, pero di ba ingon siya nga, ako amo ning mga anak, kailaman ko aniya. Iba si Kristo mismo nagstorya dito sa Mateo, sa mga Gospels, nga depart from me, I don't know you. But when we see Him, because of Christ, when we see Him, we have put our faith in the finished work of Christ, He will tell us, welcome, come home my child. Well done the good and faithful servant on the merits of Christ. Although wala ko na ito nabuhat ang atong part good. But because of Christ, because of the filter of Christ, we are welcome. We are, as though we are victorious. We are guiltless. We are forgiven. And mo nang maayo pamaladungan, and that's the gospel actually. So mo na ingon ni Apostol Pablo din sa katapusan ng mga bahin din sa Pilipos. So see you on Sunday.